Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the EV Geek podcast. As always, we are your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and today we welcome back to the podcast Landon, also known as the Arkansas eTraveler on YouTube and social media, to discuss the update to the rollout of Wal-Mart's DC Fast Charger locations. So, without further ado, let's plug in and get started. Landon, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm glad I didn't ruin myself for you last time I was here.
Yeah, well, we were going through some stuff, and it was like, hey, we were getting kind of desperate. We're like, hey, let's have Landon. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah,
I'm fine with that.
So we thought, I've seen a bunch of your posts. So we originally had you on, probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, probably. I don't know. We've done so many episodes this day, and you kind of gave us an initial kind of rollout of what's going on with Wal-Mart DC Fast Charger, because you really are kind of following that rollout and what's going on with happening in the South with that. And following some of your videos, which we like to do, there are some updates to the DC Fast Charging at Wal-Mart. It's kind of sped up the pace and kind of expand a little. So we thought we'd have you on to talk a little bit about that and to kind of give our audience an update too. And also anyone listening, we'll put a link to Landon's the Arkansas eTraveler YouTube channel in the description. So if you want to go check out some of his videos to get a more in-depth detailed account of what's going on with Walmart and their DC fast charger rollout, you can do that as well. So first off, let's get started. Question number one. So you've been tracking this rollout pretty closely. Where are we at right now with this rollout?
So where we're at is everything is still construction-wise or open chargers are still in the DFW Metroplex. They have not ventured beyond the Metroplex with the exception of the original beta site in Springdale. Nothing's changed there either. And so right now, I believe they have 6 locations open total, 5 in the Metroplex. And so they have opened 1 per month, I believe, since March. And so I think that's kind of caught a few people off guard, those numbers right there. But probably the bigger piece to the puzzle that we're finding right now is just the number of permits that are coming in from every corner of the country. It would seem that we have found and shared and brought to people who need some good news on the DC fast charging front.
So how many permits that have you been able to track down that have kind of been issued?
Oh, how many? Let's see. Looks like somewhere around 43, 44.
Wow.
And
are they in certain parts of the states or certain part of the country, or are they kind of sporadic?
It depends. For example, Texas, most of what we're finding in Texas is along the I-35 corridor from San Antonio to DFW. A few suburban Austin stops as well. In Arizona, everything that we have found so far is confined to Maricopa County and the Phoenix metropolitan area. Florida, we have found permits in Jacksonville, 3 or 4 there. Tampa, we have found 2 or 3, and since my last update, I haven't even made this update yet. We found 2 more in Tampa. So while they are having a wide reach, I've kind of learned that where there is one, there is more than likely many. For example, Omaha, just out of nowhere, Omaha showed up, and there's 4 that we know of in Omaha that have been found in permitting. So the big story right now is what we're finding in permitting. And I know most of you know him, Alejandro EV66 on X. He's kind of the guru for permit hunting, and he's been a great guy to work with on this, just so generous with his talents with Walmart and Ayana, and he's been tracking them both, and it's pretty exciting. He has told me, and he said in an interview a few weeks ago, that right now the pace for permitting applications found for Walmart is eclipsing Ayana. So
Okay.
in that particular race, Walmart has the upper edge, but getting chargers in the ground, it's Iona by a mile right now.
Now, are any of these, or I don't know if you can tell us, are any of these at locations that currently have EA stations?
No.
Oh, okay.
And I do not anticipate that ever happening, because if you look at the original press release from 2023, um, it said that the numbers that they hope to achieve by 2030, they're including the EA stations in those numbers. So unless something changes, I don't see them. Maybe post 2030, they may look at it. I'm not sure. But and I would love for them to. The
Yeah.
Rogers EA station, good night. But I mean,
We've all been there.
I don't anticipate that happening until post 2030 if it happens.
Gotcha. My last follow-up question on this. Any other permits for Arkansas, or they still just have that pilot site up in Northwest Arkansas?
Nothing new in Arkansas. Unfortunately, like I said, the permit hunting part, it's like throwing a dart on a map and hoping that there's something underneath that dart.
Yeah.
I've checked a few places that I think should have them. I haven't been able to access those Excel databases entirely. It's a world that I'm just not good at working with, and Alejandro EV66 is just the champion of it. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but I will say this, maybe to give Arkansans a little bit of hope. When the Store of the Future concept was introduced in recent years for Walmart, it mentioned specifically that EV charging would be a part of that vision. Now they turned 4108 in Springdale into the pilot Store of the Future, and they put EV charging in it as the beta location. They have announced for Arkansas the Supercenter on MLK in Fayetteville, the Supercenter in Blytheville, Truman, Crossett, and somewhere in north central Arkansas, not Mountain Home, not Ash Flat, maybe Mountain View, somewhere up in there. Those will be the 5 Store of the Future concepts for the state of Arkansas. Each one of those is in a charging desert.
Yes. Very rural.
Oh, Crossett. I forgot Crossett as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Crossett is on that list as well. Crossett's the epitome of a charging desert.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome if they could get them out in those, because that's one of the things we have a lot of complaints about here in Arkansas is DC fast charging in rural Arkansas. It's just not out there. There's not even level 2 charging out there. So yeah.
Right.
Cool. So from what you've seen, who are these chargers for? Are they mainly like destination chargers? You know, it's just happens to be at a Walmart. Are they kind of targeting more of that like pit stop design of, you know, being semi close to the interstate? You know, what does it look like they're targeting?
It looks like they're targeting everybody. Just from the DFW perspective, I'll speak to that first. It looks to me like anybody is fair game. I've seen them. They're on U.S. highways. They're on interstates. They're in suburban areas of the Metroplex. They have gone back and they've added at least 3 or 4 to the original 15 locations that we have found in permitting now. And it just seems like if you have in DFW, if you have a Walmart near you, you are fair game. Now, with what we're seeing in permitting, it's also hard to tell because we're seeing, in most cases, they're in towns that are along corridors, but not all of them are really, really close to the interstate, like Colorado Springs. Some of those are pretty far off from I-25, even though Colorado Springs has I-25 in it. So it's kind of a mixed bag. It seems like if you drive an EV, you're their target, you know? So it's a good question to consider. And I've tried to answer that as well, because there's a lot of people who on my channel have expressed some discouragement because all of the permits that I've found, with the exception of a small handful, have been along major U.S. interstates. And, you know, people want more rural areas, want some action in those spots of the country as well, and I don't blame them. I have found one or two. Another site that I haven't announced yet, Kalispell, Montana. We have found one, and
Where is that?
The great state of Montana.
I mean, I know of Billings, and that's about it. So in Helena. So I mean,
I think it's west central, but it's
Okay.
not along an interstate at all. And there's only 16 supercenters in the state, so it's that one has popped up. So it's a very nuanced and shape-shifting trend that we're seeing from permits, and it's kind of naive for me to say if there are any trends, because it's just, well, what did we happen to find today? Like that permit could have been much older than the one that we found yesterday, and so to try and figure it out, if there are really any trends in it, is kind of impossible. But from what we've seen in the DFW Metroplex, where they are installing these things, if you're an EV driver, they're after your business.
Gotcha. So I have been to the one in Northwest Arkansas at that Walmart out there. And Sebastian, I don't know if you've been to that one as well. How does this setup compare to Electrify America, Tesla Supercharging, Iona, whatever's out there, Blink, EV Connect? How does their setup compare with the other DC fast charger networks out there?
Sure. Well, their own setup in Springdale doesn't even compare to the out of beta locations in DFW, because those are all in Springdale. They're all ChargePoint Express Plus units that have 350 amps, and you can only charge one car at a time per unit, total of 4 units, and it's CCS and CHAdeMO. In DFW, it's Alpitronic hyperchargers, and they're split. One side can charge 400 kilowatts on NACS, the other can do 400 kilowatts on CCS. So to compare that then to what we see here in Arkansas via Electrify America or anybody else, I would think, like, we're seeing everything kind of push forward. We're seeing the technology push forward to give us very dependable, very high rate, almost kind of future-proofing their DC fast chargers with the Alpitronic hyperchargers. I'll be interested to see when we get the ABB units that Walmart wants to use in Phoenix and Florida, how they stack up, because that's a unit that I have not encountered yet, the A400s. So it seems to me like Walmart is just using their blessing of property that they already own to create really state-of-the-art stations that maximize your time. And if you just so happen to need to go to the bathroom or grab a snack, you can go do that. You can, if you want to grocery shop, that's not necessarily their goal for you, but it is available. So I think that they're just using the natural, already there amenities there to attract you to a superior charging experience.
Gotcha. And you mentioned they're not just going with one manufacturer; they're kind of spreading it out with Alphatronics, with the other manufacturers as well.
Right. We're seeing that in the warm weather climates, Arizona, Florida, oddly enough, not Texas. I don't know what that it's just maybe a trend here that I'm noticing that may not exist, but the ABB seem to be going into the deserts and in Florida, which makes me nervous knowing what I know about the previous generation Terra HP units from ABB. But hey, they've got a whole new, almost like a heat pump technology in their charger handles that should be able to disperse heat far more effectively than their current Terra HPs do. So it's a good test for them.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, that A400 unit even has like where the inlet itself is cooled. It has liquid cooling all the way down to like the pin level, not just to the handle, which is really cool.
And remember, it's all contained within the handle. There's actually no liquid from the unit itself to the handle. It's just this closed loop of almost like refrigerant that works just like a heat pump.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's the pricing like on these so far? Is there any consistent pattern? Is it all over the place? Like, are they just kind of trying a bunch of different things out? What have you noticed?
Very consistent. Every location in Texas now, including the former beta site in Crossroads, they're all at 42 cents per kilowatt hour. That's a little bit higher than I think a lot of people anticipated. Again, I think Walmart Plus membership will have a role to play with that later. But in terms of good access to an Alpitronic hypercharger, it's a pretty good price.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think 42 cents is bad at all.
No,
Tesla is mid to high 30s now, and I think EA is way higher than what it used to be. So
almost, at least here in Arkansas, EA is almost 60 cents.
yeah,
I'll be curious
your
to
Pilot
see if
flying J sites are almost 70 cents.
yep.
I'll be curious to see if Walmart implements time of use, especially in the Metroplex, because that area, there are a lot of different providers that compete with one another with perks, residentially, perhaps commercially as well. I'll be wondering if time of use plays into that, because those Tesla superchargers in the Metroplex, they can get into the teens at night. So I would be interested to see that.
Gotcha. And kind of a follow up with that. Do these units do like idle fees or anything like that you've heard of?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do these units charge idle fees or anything like that? Because a 10-minute trip to Walmart could be a 45-minute trip to Walmart.
Not that I've seen so far. There's no idle fees. I've watched so far how often they are filled up. The 12 stall station in Bedford, or the 8 stall stations throughout the rest of the DFW that are open. There's the most I've ever seen. There's 4. That's not to say that they haven't been more full, but it seems like there's not a cause for that right now. Maybe once their notoriety in the area gains some traction, then maybe that's a thing. But as of right now, no. You can shop however long you want and not have to worry about the vehicle.
Gotcha. So following this rollout, have you noticed any major challenges or hiccups, maybe uptime issues, power limitations, anything that drivers should be aware of like that?
Nothing for drivers. I'll save my one comment for the question I know that we talked about at the end that I think that'll be good. But no, the only nothing for drivers. I think Walmart has maybe hit a few snags in some places with inspections and stuff, but I think that was probably their design, because if you think about the DFW Metroplex, it's dozens, if not hundreds of cities, and each city has its own way of doing things. I think that if they felt like, okay, if we can conquer this, maybe the expansion to the rest of the nation is easier. Like, we have a solution for something in Washington that we know from Richland Hills, Texas, so I think they're dealing with some inspection things that any CPO may go through. Looks like Ayana's going through them a little faster, because the DFW, it's like an arms race right now between the two. So I just think that they're learning a lot, and they will be better for it. And once the time to expand beyond the DFW is here, it's just going to be an explosion, and we're going to reap the benefits as EV drivers.
Yeah, I kind of figure that too. I figure it's a trickle now. Then once they get everything out, money is not going to be an issue for Walmart. So it's not be like, hey, we need to raise some more money or things like. They got the money, but I think it's like what you said. It's kind of like a drip now, and then when everything is figured out, they'll just turn it on full blast, right, and you'll just see them kind of just go crazy with it.
Which is smart to implement it that way. Let's try to go through as many challenges as we can at first, and then learn from those to make ourselves go faster in the future. Like Irving, Texas, their lead inspector for commercial electric hookups or whatever is apparently quite the stickler. He's on the NEC board, so they are definitely going through the gauntlet right now to try and get that station online. They'll learn from it, and it will be useful for them in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you see this going in the next year or two? Obviously more chargers, but do you see maybe any room for improvement in, say, integration? What do you, and just kind of what would you like to see next?
I'm ready to see them expand, like putting posts in the ground beyond Texas or beyond the DFW. We started seeing them turn over dirt in January. So, but again, I understand why the timing may be what the timing is. I just right now the one thing I think I would like to see as someone who is tracking this is you give us a map of who's getting it, like let us have a checklist. But I understand, they don't have to operate that way. Not everybody chooses to. So it's just, right now, I would just like to see a little bit more expansion, but I'll be patiently waiting along with you and everybody else. And things that I anticipate, I hope that they get into the Phoenix market by the end of the year, and potentially even Florida, because those will have good weather to work with over the winter. So that could be useful to them, work in the South over winter, and then in the summer go back to the North when the weather improves. So it's, it's their world, we're living in it.
Gotcha. And our final question, kind of a little bonus question. What is kind of like one detail or insight that you've come across that most people might have missed about this rollout of Wal-Mart's DC Fast Chargers?
I would say just how much they are paying attention to their customers. I know they're paying attention to the media that they get. I know that they've seen my channel and have been very, very kind about that, and they are definitely paying attention to what EV drivers want. And the best example that I can give is I forget which location it was, but when it opened, if you're facing the Alpitronic hypercharger, the NACS port was on the right. And who uses a NACS port the most is a Tesla. And its port, is on the driver's side in the rear. So you have to take that NACS and walk it all the way around, let the arm swing around and plug it in. To me, that's not a big deal, but for somebody who has an accessibility issue or something like that, that could be a problem for them. The next site, the NACS and the CCS were reversed. So now plugging in a Tesla is as simple as, a normal supercharger. And that, for me, driving a Blazer EV, that actually made it easier for me on CCS as well. So I think that just they're paying attention, they're trying things. What they try today, it may not look like tomorrow. And if they find something better, there's nothing to stop them from making it better. So I have good faith in them that they want to create an extremely reliable and almost kind of like a destination effect with their chargers.
All right, that is awesome. So once again, Landon, the Arkansas eTraveler, thank you so much for joining us tonight and giving us an update on the DC Fast Charger rollout for Walmart. Walmart's a big thing here in Arkansas. We want to know what's going on with that, and we're all EV owners, and that's why another reason why we want to know what's going on with that. We'd love to have you back on in a few months for another update. We also want to thank you all for listening and or watching. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification icon before you leave, and we will see you again on another podcast episode. Thanks again, Landon. Goodbye, everyone.